Hi, friends, and welcome to card number 2 of our Creative Design Studio Home for Christmas. I am excited to create these cards with you. We're going to start with the first one, which is going to be per the workshop guide, and then we're going to follow the same basic pattern for the other 3 cards of the card number 2, but just with some minor little changes and make them even better. So let's go ahead and get started. You know, I'm going to tell you, I tell you all the time, I have such a hard time putting things straight, but I am using my Versamat here to help me line things up a little bit, which makes great having these grid lines. The other thing that I notice that helps me as well is to always start with your bottom and your top, and then you can fit in the middle. Or if you're working left to right, you can do the same thing. Do your ends first and then work into the middle. It's easier to line up them when you do the middle last, right? All right, so here I'm going to go ahead and stamp. Thank goodness for 2 sides of every piece of paper because my first stamp did not come out very well. And I think later on in the future cards, I decided to use the black instead of the intense black. It's a little bit deceiving in the name when you say intense black. It really is not more intense than our standard black. Honestly, our standard black is more intense in color. But the intense black serves a very important purpose when you are coloring or using water, alcohol markers, shimmer brush, watercolor, any of those things over the top of your stamped image. You should always use something like intense black, right? So that your black doesn't run. Next, we're going to do some paper piecing. So we're going to grab our red ink, clean your stamp set good so you don't contaminate your red, because remember, we just stamped this in black, right? I'm stamping on this little piece of paper. I've added a scrap paper behind so the excess goes off. All we're going to cut out and all we need is that 4. I did another one on the back because, again, since we're cutting it out, I strategically placed where that 4 was going to be on the back so I could cut it off of both sides. I hope that makes sense. Nonetheless, just stamp 4 of them. The only piece that we need is that red little banner that says 4. Have you seen our new desktop caddy? I just love this. Look, you can store your colored pencils, your scissors, our markers, the alcohol markers even fit in there. Because those little flower-like holders on the top there are different sizes. They hold a multiple of different things in different sizes. So fun. All right. Now I've grabbed my scissors. Our micro tip scissors are perfect for fussy cutting. They get into all those little tiny spaces. So I am just cutting that 4 off. So see how I cut it off of the one side, now I turned it over, and I'm cutting the 3 out of the other side. And I'm just going to fussy cut those so we have them for all 4 cards. A tip for fussy cutting is move your paper, not your scissors. And also, if you leave a little bit of a white border around what you're fussy cutting, it looks a little bit more appealing to the eye and is actually a little bit easier to cut than trying to stay right on the line and not have any of the white border. So just eyeball a bit of that border around the edge. So I see I got a little bit off camera as I was fussy cutting these little banners out here, but I'm just cutting all 4 of them out. As you can see, I've left a little bit of a white border around the edge of each of the finished ones up there in the upper right-hand corner. So how is everybody doing with their Christmas cards? Are these the first cards that you've created so far for the season? They were for me. Okay, so now you see I'm just going to put that banner over the top of the black, a gift for you, and we're going to put the red candy apple over the top. I brought in my all-purpose mat, the little piece that I've cut down there for adhesive, which works perfect. And now we are ready to adhere this down to our card front. It was probably time for a new blade in my cutter when I was cutting this paper. So it had a little bit of the white core showing on the edge. So I just took that paper and swiped it in my Candy Apple Red ink, and problem solved. No more jagged looking white core pieces on the edge of my paper. So there, my friends, is another little tip for you. Now I'm just grabbing my foam tape. I'm going to add a little bit of dimension behind the sediment here. It's always good to add a little bit of dimension, shimmer, and shine to all of our projects, right? Now I'm going to grab my all-purpose mat for using the adhesive again on this branch, and I'm going to bring in some of these stockings. I colored a bunch of these stockings off camera. You saw me color in card number 1, so I colored the rest of them off camera. I added the little gems, some stickles underneath the sediment, and then I'm going to add some stickles to the stockings. Now you notice I used the piercing tool there to guide or correct any of the issues I needed to with the point of the piercing tool. When you do that, make sure you wipe off your piercing tool so that the stickles doesn't harden to it, just like with liquid glass. Now I am going to do some stickles down at the bottom here. For me, in my trouble with straight lines, I found that it was best to use a ruler and draw the line and then trace it with the stickles. You won't see the line through the stickles. Now for card number 2, the second way, I started with a black piece of cardstock, the full size of the card front, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I'm also using gold glitter paper in the center there instead of the black that we did on the previous card. All other steps to this point are the same. See that little white core on the sides like I told you about in the last card. I did use my red ink to correct that a little bit. Don't forget our paper piecing with the 4 on the top there, adding the branch in, and then again hanging the stockings. Like I said, I colored a bunch of them off camera so you wouldn't have to watch me color them all. Look at how fun this is. I love how that black makes it pop. I'm also using the alcohol markers to color the gems. Don't forget, you can do that. Make them any color you need to match your project. And in here, I made them green and red. Super fun. My one little dot there got a little out of control, so I'm fixing it with the piercing tool. I even moved it right out of the way and created a whole new one. Did you see that? So fun. As long as your stickles hasn't dried yet, you can pick it up and move it, recreate it. Super fun. Okay, now I'm taking those gems that dried from the alcohol markers and adding them to the top, putting this line at the bottom for the stickles, and look at how easy it is to just trace along that line, right? Super cute. I love the black and how it pops. Now you notice I used the black ink on this one here on the left, and I used the intense black on the one on the right. Can you see the difference in the ink? Now we are ready to create card number 2, the third way. And again, I'm doing this one pretty similar to the previous. The difference here to make it better is to add that gold branch. Look at how pretty that is. So again, I've got my stockings that I've already colored. I'm going to color the gems with the alcohol marker. I'm decorating with the stickles. I used the pencil line along the bottom for my stickles and added those colored gems. Look at how pretty that is. I am loving having this close to my heart tool caddy right here at my workstation, especially when I'm videoing, because all of my tools are right there and handy and I'm not searching for them all over my table. Now we are ready to start card number 2, the fourth way. Now this is funny, my friends. Are you ready? Do you see? I'm literally using a butter knife. So most of my tools were packed in my car from my weekend retreat, which meant my embossing stylus or my scoreboard or my little tool that goes in my cutter. So my friends, a butter knife works. I am scoring every quarter inch. Look at how fun that is. If nothing else, I hope I provided you a good laugh. So I thought that would be a fun way to add some texture to this card. So I'm doing this one again the same way as I've done the others. Just the added element is that embossed textured piece there. You could also sand that. It would be super fun. And I'm also adding in some gold glitter paper here. A tip for gold glitter paper or any of our glitter paper is to add 3D foam tape to the back of whatever you're adhering onto it, and it will stick better, right? Right, so I needed to stamp here. Apparently I didn't stamp this one, and so I needed to stamp another one here. And look at how nice that turns out with the black ink. We added the red candy apple for the paper piecing. I'm adding the foam tape on the back, which allows it to stick better to the glitter paper. And then we're hanging our stockings, and we're going to add some stickles. And let's not forget our little gems. Got to color them up so that they have a second to dry before I put them down on the card. Okay, so add in our little stickles. Remember, a tip with the stickles when you're doing those little dots is to do them in a circular motion. That way you don't get the tail when you lift up, right? And I'm using the piercing tool to correct or guide anything that I need. I also, because I started uncenter on here, I decided to add in 5 little dots instead of 3. Okay, add the stickles to the stockings. Super fun. I just love this red stickles and these cards. I love the pop of black and the golds. And of course, it's always a favorite to color the gems. I hope that you have had fun creating card number 2, and I will see you in card number 3.